What is the number one searched hashtag in the world? It is love. And let's ensure that we have love as an acronym. Love, lift our vibe every time. So today we have a special guest, a gentleman who is a wealth and mindset coach, who is the top 1% in Bob Proctor coaches. And he is with us today. He is known as the connector. So it's none other than Jon Talarico joining us for love, lift our vibe every time.
How
Welcome.
you going, Michelle? How you going? How's
I
everyone
am
in
great.
Yes, I am super.
You're practically a trainee yourself.
That's right. I am super excited to be here. A special place in my heart for the sweet land of TNT. So thank you for having me, Michelle.
It is truly an honor. And I was able to connect with you through doing the Power Voice system with Les Brown. So let's get into that. Tell us a bit about how you were able to form this connection with the godfather of greatness himself, Les
Yes,
Brown.
absolutely, Michelle. Well, for those who don't know me, I grew up in Flint, Michigan, and my grandmother at the time made me used to listen to this gentleman named Les Brown on the radio every Sunday at the
Yes.
Unity Church. And he gave me hope that no matter what my circumstances, I could have the life of my dreams. And I made a promise to her one day that I would meet that man. And so doing what I do, Michelle, I believe in everything comes down to building relationships. Really, I love what you're doing here with love, lifting our vibe every time. I set out on a goal that one day I was going to not only meet that man, but I was going to somehow have him be a mentor of mine and then be some kind of partner with him. And so that led me to 6-7 years ago, meeting him. I became his student. I studied with Les, and then actually he became my client. And so 2 years ago, we put together something. When COVID hit, Les lost all his speaking engagements. And so I created this thing called the Power Voice, which allowed you and so many people, thousands all over the world, to actually have him every week in their living room and really learn how to use the power of their voice to tell the story that could change the world. So that's how that came about.
It's amazing that you shared that, because I wasn't able to connect those dots to realize that speaking engagements were basically at a halt during the time period with the pandemic. But I saw so much value in what we were able to receive from the Power Voice. And similar to you, when the Power Voice was taking place, now I got to meet Les electronically, but I needed to take a moment. I could not come on camera the first class because I was so emotional. I was crying because for me, it was growing up hearing Les every morning with my grandfather. So how were you now able to move from that step of having the goal and
Sure.
literally having this materialize? Because I feel there's so much value there.
Yeah, great question, Michelle. And I actually just gave a TED talk a couple months ago on that exact same thing about how you can connect anybody in the world through one or two people. I am a firm believer in that. I teach that. What I did was, first of all, I believe we all have to have that goal. We have to know who we want to connect with, and then we have to want to know why. I know some people just love to get that photo, the selfie and all that. And if that's going to transform and change your life, then that's great. But with Les Brown, I knew I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn from the greatest motivational, inspirational speaker of our generation, a man who gave me hope at a time where I was about to give up. And so I put myself in position to meet him. And so sometimes you have to invest in yourself. You need to put yourself at these events where they're speaking, the people you want to meet. And I always teach that there's three ways to connect with people, Michelle, right? It's either through the gatekeepers, right? I call that the one connection removed. Usually it's the inner circle, right? The manager, the agent, the lawyer, the executive assistant. And then you have kind of the second connection removed, which is usually some other friends and all that. And then you can go through that way. And then there's also the best way, which I find, and I'm going to keep going because I think I lost Michelle. Not sure if this is being.
I'm here with you still.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure we were focusing on you.
Okay. The third way is, which is actually the easiest, is to just walk up and ask. You know what I found, Michelle, is most people at the level of a Les Brown, a Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, all these people, they want to help because there was a time in their life, if you listen to their stories, that somebody helped them, that they really needed help. Bob Proctor talks about he was broke. He never finished higher than 10th grade of high school. Les, his story at being labeled educable, mentally retarded, and
Hmm.
somebody believed in them. And so
Yes.
sometimes it's as simple as just walking up and ask. I know that we have that fear about, but at the end of the day, they're just people like you and I. And so I went up and I put myself in a position to meet him. Two, I did my research. I knew, okay, let me study a little bit more about what Les Brown is doing and how I could add value to his life. Now,
Right.
having done that and having been around some of the other personal development people, Michelle, and online marketing people, I knew that Les was having some challenges with online marketing. And so one
Yes.
of my connections and one of my best friends actually is Onyx Singhal. For those of you who don't know him, he's done well over $350 million online. And so I always think about how can I add value when I'm starting to create and look for that relationship. So I just walked up, Les, told him the story of my grandmother. And was I nervous? Absolutely, Michelle. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ask. The heck. And he invited me to breakfast the next morning. And I expected to find Les there with his whole entourage. And he's sitting there eating his oatmeal by himself. And that led to a not even a friendship, but an association. And I would
Yes.
go to other events and I would walk up again and remind him who I was. And then I said, by the way, I want to introduce you to somebody who I think can really help you. And that led to a great partnership with Onik. We put together a program for Les that earned almost $500,000. And
Wow.
we saw that I was a person who could deliver and add value. And so that's how it started. And then I went from studying with him to him actually becoming my client. So, and that's how it happened, Michelle.
And that is just one of your clients, because not
Just
only
one.
that, you have a network that consists of Acon,
Yes.
not just Acon, but also right here in TNT, our very much celebrated Brian Lara is
There,
within
yes.
as well.
Yeah, Brian has become a more than just someone I do business with, an absolutely very close friend, just a wonderful human being. For those of you who don't know me, both my children are from Trinidad. They're half Trinis. I spent a year living down there in West Moorings and worked over in Chagonas. So I have a special place in my heart for Trinidad.
Yes.
I was involved and actually owned the Trinidad Red Steel. I was a co-owner of that team when the CPL
Wow.
launched. And so I knew if I was going to do that, Michelle, I better brush up on my cricket. So I didn't want to have to deal with the wrath of Brian. But yeah, I've been able to use that same kind of formula I used with Les, Michelle, to build all these relationships and connections around the world. And I always share with people, look, if I was able to do this with no connections, and if you know my story, I was the last person who
Right.
should have been able to connect to anybody. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And so that's what I really teach about
Yes.
the power of connection, connecting to the right kind of thinking, the right kind of action, the right kind of belief system, and then and ultimately the right kind of results.
Right thinking, right belief system, and so forth. And you did also mention that Bob Proctor, for example, was broke. Les Brown had his challenges as well, and you some of your challenges. Could you take us to that point with how you were
Sure.
able to make that switch?
Absolutely, Michelle. I grew up in Flint, Michigan. For those who don't know, it was an auto town. It was booming back in the 70s, but the U.S. automakers got very arrogant. They refused to adapt and adjust to the times, and then ultimately, the town was wiped out. Factories closed. I grew up in a broken home. By age 7, my parents had gone their separate ways at a time where that wasn't very common. We were on food stamps and had to get free lunch at school. And so while on the outside I was a perfect kid, on the inside I was so ashamed and embarrassed, Michelle. And I spent a couple of years dealing with a woman who was supposed to be looking out for me, who did things that no child should have to endure. But I kept that to myself. I started drinking at age 12, just lost, and yet not knowing how to speak up and speak out. And yet school was my salvation. My grandmother was my salvation. And she said, you can get out of here. And listening to Les Brown gave me hope. And she gave me books. I read things like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read things like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. And so I would start and stop, Michelle. I would start and get excited and then not follow through, or and start and stop. And that went on forever.
Yes.
I got fired from every job I ever had. And what I realized is I finally heard Bob Proctor talk about something called a paradigm shift. That my problem wasn't what I was doing, that I didn't need to do something different, but I needed to think something different. And I went to an event of his about 8 years ago, sat in the back row and said, somehow, some way, I'm going to be in his inner circle and have him mentor me as well.
Yes.
And because I was broken, Michelle, I didn't know what else to do. I had, from the outside, it looked like I was great. You're right. I was able to travel the world with people like Akon and have all kinds of wonderful celebrity and powerful friends. But on the inside, I was broken and broke. And I was not living my love, my true life, right? My love has always been, from way back, as long as I can remember, to teach. I went to college to become a teacher. And then I allowed, as a lot of us do, outside influences, our environment, other conditions, our family and friends, to influence my decision. Teachers don't make any money. Why are you crazy? Why would you want to be a teacher? And so I went and got an MBA and then proceeded to hate that job and get fired from every job until I found what I love to do, which is actually teach and help and coach people. And so from that event with Bob Proctor, Michelle, that led me to becoming very close to Bob. And he mentored me, became one of his consultants. There's about 3,000 of us around the world. And literally in the course of no time, in July of 2020, I launched my coaching business. Within 6 months, we had 150 clients.
Wow.
And I got to develop a very special relationship with that man. I loved him dearly. And again, that all happened, Michelle, because of what I teach in my kind of networking program and course, give value first. And people like Bob, people like Les, people like even Brian and Akon, all these people, look, they've reached the pinnacle of their industry. They're at the top. They have usually all the accolades that they need or want. They have the money that they want, the fame. And so what is it that we can actually offer to them? Because everyone's trying to get something from them. Very few people are trying to do something for them. And so when I was at that seminar with Bob Proctor, I sat there and listened for 2.5 days, Michelle, to him give me this great information, but I also heard something else. I heard one song the whole weekend. One song. Bob played a single song, and I used to say, I know Bob's old, but he has to know there's other music out there. And I realized that song meant something to that man. Somehow it meant something to him. And so I went to where we all go for research, right? I went to Google and looked up the song. It was, I can see clearly now, it's going to be a
The rain is gone. I know that from this. You talk about this too.
And I found the guy. He was a recluse. I found him. I got him through persistence. I didn't give up. I got him to autograph an album, got it signed for Bob, framed it. And again, panic set in, Michelle. I dropped it off at a seminar and I ran to my car because I was too afraid to give it to him. And within an hour, his son had tracked me down and asked me to come back. Bob brought that up on stage, brought me up. And from that, I was able to see Bob last November at his home in Toronto. He showed me that framed picture, sits in his bathroom. He said, I see this every morning, Jon. I think of you every day. And that's what's possible, Michelle. That's what's possible when you set aside the agenda for yourself and actually want to give love and help somebody else, do something special for someone else, make an impression for them and to them that you know is really going to brighten up their day.
I was able to make a connection there because when I heard about the networking and so forth, I was a bit apprehensive. But you mentioned something that clicked for me in terms of it being the intention behind what you do.
Sure.
And there is a phrase you just used that I found very potent, and that phrase is adding value. It's not wanting to take, it's wanting to add. How could you add value? How could you serve? Could you speak to us more on that?
Yes, absolutely, Michelle. So having now been around a lot of celebrity and wealthy clients, people always are hitting me up and asking me to introduce them. And it's always about, we can make so much money together. Well, these people already have the money.
Yes.
And rarely, actually, I don't know if ever, it's, hey, can I help? Hey, next time Les is doing something, next time Akon's doing something, next time one of your clients is doing something, can I volunteer? That never happens because most people are short-sighted and they want that quick, I got to have it now, rather than thinking about how the universe really works and understanding the laws of the universe. Supply is infinite and unlimited. So when it comes to building relationships, I believe that you always want to leave people with the impression of increase. One of my favorite books, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, that was written in 1903, talks about that. That was a book that was the basis for the movie The Secret. Yes. And so you always want to be giving value, leaving people with the impression of increase. And so when it comes to networking, how can you do that? Well, first of all, people hear the word networking and they start to freak out. Most people start to panic. They get anxiety like, oh God, Michelle, Jon's going to tell me I need to go meet people. And I love the one that says I'm an introvert.
Yes.
You weren't born that way. And so And then the best part is that they're in an entrepreneurship type coaching program to grow their business. So what I always talk about first is that, look, there's one word that you've been taught and you've been taught it the wrong way. If you look at the definition of networking, all it is exchanging information. And what we're doing here today, so to further one's career, especially in business. So even if you're in a nonprofit business, you're looking to get more referrals so you can get more donations and grow the business. Purpose of a business is, the bottom line is to make sure it's profitable. By being profitable, you can do so much more good around the world. And so when it comes to that, then you want to start to understand, okay, who do I want to connect with and how can I add value to their life? Well, that requires you to do some research. You want to see what's important to them. And most people will only worry about what's important to themselves. But when you start to look at, okay, what's important to them? What's important to Michelle? I want to connect with Michelle. What is important to her? Well, we have social media. You can find out more about Michelle than she knows. And then how could I do something? I have this thing I call little things for big connections, Michelle. And it's things that will make a huge impact on somebody. And now where we talk about is letting go of any expectation. You have to be willing to let go of the expectation you have, because that's now manipulation. And so when I gave Bob that album, that autographed album, I was okay if I never heard from him, because I knew somehow if he got it, somehow, some way I will have touched that man. And if I never heard from him again, great. Did I want to learn from him? Absolutely. But I think this is where some people get hung up, is that I'm a big teacher of obviously goal achievement.
Yes.
You want to have a goal. That goal should never be dependent upon anyone outside of yourself for its achievement. Would it be great if it's accomplished because of Bob Proctor and maybe or Les Brown? Absolutely. But you don't ever want to put your results in the hands of anyone else. And I think that's where we let go of the expectation. Do something nice. Do something and be unique. Build that relationship. Let go of any expected outcome. And then just trust. Mm-hmm. Trust that what you're working on is already done. See it in your mind, right? Set the goal. Live from the end. See yourself with the wish fulfilled, and then do certain things along the way. One of those is giving tremendous value, making an impact, finding those little things that, wouldn't take long to find out what's really important to you, Michelle, right? Obviously, just from the name of your show alone, it's about lift your vibe everywhere. You obviously want to make sure that people know that they can change their energy, change their vibration, live from a happy and hopeful place.
Yes.
And so anything to do with that kind of information, somebody could send you something, a positive coffee mug or just anything like that, which I know would make a difference in your life and improve your day, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing you said that, and you said a coffee mug, because there's one connection in particular in which someone connected with me that they have like entrance or access to me at any time. And it came through a coffee mug. They printed my name on it with a phrase that I would always say.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that meant so much for me.
Yes.
So
I'm a big believer in teaching that, Michelle.
Take
time to do those little things for people. And and it's not, you're not spending a lot of money. That record cost me $5 on eBay.
Wow.
I've used, and then use your network to help other people. If you have a network of people, all of us do, and you know that they have something or could make an impact on somebody else. Somebody's a huge cricket fan, right? Obviously, now that Brian is now in my network, I get him to autograph something. And that meant a huge difference to somebody's father who was a huge fan of Brian's. I've gone on with, there's a billionaire family in India. I wanted better connections and relationships with them. I was involved in doing some other stuff with them. We would go to London every month. And the first place we go, Michelle, we'd end up in Harrods, that very famous department store, but we'd end up in the basement at the Krispy Kreme donut shack. Now here's a man who has billions of dollars, but they didn't have Krispy Kreme donut in India. Wow. And so the next time I went to India and got invited, they would fly me over. What did I do? I went to my local grocery store. I spent my $6, took a box of Krispy Kreme donuts. By the time they reached India, they were destroyed. However, I knew it meant something. I knew it meant something when I gave it to him. Like, he's like, okay, thank you. But I saw for a moment, this was actually very nice. It's probably one of the only times anyone has ever done something for me without putting a hand in my pocket.
Wow.
And this goes also back to having faith, knowing how powerful you truly are, being able to set a goal. You have to have a goal. 3% of the people in the world have a goal, Michelle. 1% write it down. And when you have a goal, when you're on a mission, when you know your purpose, like you are, Michelle, and what you're doing to impact and change people's lives,
Yes.
you move with faith, not blind faith. That's worth nothing.
So true.
Unwavering faith to know that Michelle controls her destiny. Michelle decides what is it that she wants to accomplish. And then we go to work on this thing. I call it the committee that starts to try to discourage us and talks all that negativity, noise, and nonsense, or that bacchanal. I guess we talk it down there in Trinity, right? And we have to develop the awareness. The only issue in the world, Michelle, only issue, Bob used to tell me this all the time, is ignorance, John.
Yes.
Is what is ignorance? It's just not knowing, not having the right information. And then he would say, what is the right information, John? Because school didn't teach you how to think. The right information is awareness, to know who you are. You're not Michelle. You're not John. You're not your name. You changed my name on the screen a few minutes ago, Michelle. So we're not our name. You're not your body, Michelle. You moved into that body. You're going to move out of it. So who you are is a spiritual being, Michelle, created in God's image, spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it. But you were created in pure perfection. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. And so everything works by law. And when you understand that, you can also apply that to goal achievement. You can apply that to lifting your vibe. You can apply that and know that everything has a frequency. So just like a radio station, you move to a different channel. There's hundreds of channels on your radio.
Yes.
Go out and find the new music you're looking for. It's already there. So is success. So is where you want to be. And it's just a matter of how do we tune ourselves to move into that higher frequency of the place we want to go. We need to know where we want to go.
Knowing where you want to go. And I want to pull something you said. At a certain stage, you were broken. But when you had that experience at sitting at the back of Bob Proctor's conference, you mentioned that he said you have to have a paradigm shift. So it's not changing what you do, it's changing what you think.
Yes.
So could you give an example in terms of what may have been your first thought when you woke up on a morning then, and now what is your first thought when you wake up on a morning?
Absolutely. Great question, Michelle. For those of you who don't know what paradigms are, they're just a set of mental habits that are in your subconscious mind, right? We have our conscious mind and our subconscious on a very basic level. Paradigms are the programming. And even though we think we're in charge of our life, 96 to 98% of what we do has already been decided by the subconscious programming. And you'll find this information from people like Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza. All of them agree. And so that's why so many people will go to seminars, Michelle, on Sunday, right? And back then I'd go to these events. Sunday, I'd be fired up, calling everyone, telling you, Michelle, my parents, look out, I'm on fire, I'm going to change. I just walked across the coals. I'm on fire and the world's going to change. And a week or two later, it's the same routine. The routine back then was what, Michelle? Waking up with panic, anxiety, worry, and doubt. How I was going to come up with money to pay the bills for the month, what I was going to do with my life. It was a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. How could you be in this position, knowing what you know, having the experiences and the education and the connections you have? How could you have allowed this? And so there was a lot of shame. I would spend a lot of time beating myself up. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. But on the outside, my life looked great. But I believe we have these two self-images, Michelle, right? The one we project to the outside world. Yes. And then there's the one we live with. And I realized that our results in life will never outperform how we truly, really feel about ourselves on the inside. So I realized I had to change my self-image. So back then it was like anger, bitterness, depression, guilt, as I said, shame. And I was ready to give up. And I'm like, you know what? My grandmother would never have put up with this nonsense. And I remember she said, John, you can do and be whatever you want. And so I started to make some changes, Michelle. And what I did was I had to take responsibility, 100%. I was at where I was in my life because of the choices I made. Yes. And I started to look at what I had to be grateful for. I have two beautiful kids. They're both, as I said, half Trinis. I have wonderful friends all over the world. And I have experience and the ability to do something. I believe we all have that one unique thing that we do better than anyone else on the planet, a gift, our spiritual gift. And so I started to shake that off. And then Bob said, change what you think. And so now what did I do? I moved from that whole waking up, checking the phone, wondering how I'm going to make money to now waking up, calmness of mind, as James Allen says, is one of the true jewels of wisdom. And as a man thinketh, right? And I wake up now calm. And then I wake up and I do my daily success ritual. Prayer, I meditate every morning, first thing I do. I write out my gratitude list, 10 people or things I'm grateful for. Every day, number one is that I'm here, right? That I'm grateful for the day. And then the second is always my children. I'm grateful for my two kids, Michele and Jana, and then whatever else I'm grateful for. And then I have what I call, and all of our clients create, is what we call an unlimited life script. So when Michelle or anyone else sets a goal, how does your life look 6 months or a year from now? And I wrote mine out. I have all our clients write it out in the present tense. I am strong. I'm smart. I'm successful. I'm traveling the world with my wife and my kids. I'm only surrounding myself with positive people. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but it's really what Neville Goddard talks about in Power of Awareness, about living from the int, seeing the wish fulfilled.
Yes.
And I just put that on as I'm making the coffee in the morning. I put it on voice loop. We record it in our phone, listen to that for 10 minutes. And then I study, Michelle. I study the right information, the right material. I'll study one of Bob's lessons. And I ask all our clients, nothing that I wouldn't ask of myself, commit 45 minutes to an hour a day. That first hour of the morning is the most important. It sets the tone for the rest of the day. And then I sit and I look at my goal card. All of our clients, we have our goal card. We write it down. And I get emotionally involved. It's not enough just to set a goal. Feeling is the secret to a goal achievement. You have to get yourself emotionally involved in the goal. And you want to get there and you want to use the greatest gift you've ever been gifted is your imagination.
Yes.
As we get older, Michelle, we're told stop daydreaming, right? And be realistic,
True.
play it safe. That's nonsense, right? Nothing great in life has ever happened because someone was willing to play it safe. All throughout history, men and women who were willing to say, I'm not going to believe in what I see. I'm going to rather see in what I believe. And they set out to change the world, and they have. And because they were willing to move with that unwavering faith, because they were willing to actually know that there is more than just what the eye sees.
I love words. That's amazing for me because there's something that was just coming to me. I would normally say, we always say children have to make believe, but it's really believe make, because it's the belief that allows you to make the life that you so desire. And something else that came to me while you were speaking and you were talking about daydream, I wondered a little bit, and it led me in terms of words to think, when you daydream, that leads to you having your dream day.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is what came to me while you were speaking.
Absolutely. Belief. William James said, believe, and the belief will create the fact, right? We have to.
Yes.
Most people, I have a lot of coaching clients, Michelle, and I'll always ask them, what do you want? Well, I want to earn $1 million. And then they'll always follow that up with that nervous laugh. And it's because they don't believe it.
Yes.
And so what we do in our program and what I teach people is that we have to get you to actually believe it. That state of mind, as Napoleon Hill says, cannot simply be merely hoping and wishing, but actually you have to believe it. And so how do you do that? We actually have to understand your thinking. You have to change your old programming, override those old paradigms and habits until you can actually, the state of mind becomes belief. And then there's a word for that. Bob taught me this word called praxis. It's actually the integration of belief and behavior. So as you start to learn that you can actually change your behavior, change your thinking, which will change your behavior, now your belief system will start to change slowly, and you integrate those two. Bob always said, John, borrow my belief in you until yours catches up. Because unless you think I'm lying to you, and I don't lie,
powerful.
And if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, and I have millions of students all over the world, so I think I do, then try it my way because your way's not working. Yeah.
Borrow my belief in you until you believe in yourself. Yes. And it's so important that we have persons who I like to refer to as your high five. And I know Bob Proctor always talks about having your high five, or the persons that you have around you the most, as well as Jim Rohn. In terms of that, how could somebody really be able to connect to their high five? How do you decide that these are the persons that I'm going to allow a seat at my table? They help me by believing in me before I could even believe in myself.
Great question again, Michelle. First thing is, I'll go back to what I talked about a little bit earlier. We have to have a goal. You guys have to know what you want, right? The purpose of a goal is not to get something. It's to cause you to grow. It's to cause you to stretch. And I believe people, if they set goals at all, set goals that are too small. Let's go after lofty and big goals because you understand how goal achievement works, all by law. So you have a goal. You want to be 100% all in every day. You want to be willing to die for what you want because you're dying right now for what you don't want. Now, when you get that burning desire, Michelle, when you start to get that passion, you start to come alive again, doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You get this goal set and you set a date to it, and then you get moving. And then what you do, you take massive daily action every day. Now you start to take inventory of what am I doing every day? So Michelle, if we were to look at your goal, I would say, okay, Michelle, let's review your day yesterday. Let's look at your productive activities and your non-productive activities. Not time management, it's activity management. You can't manage time. You got the same 86,400 seconds that I got today, Michelle. But we can manage our activities. And until you have an actual goal, you don't know what you're doing each day. Otherwise, you just convince yourself you're busy and you're not productive. So now we've got our goal. Now we're looking at what we do each day. Now we're starting to look at the people in our life. Who are those people that are supporting us, inspiring us, moving us? And who are the people that are bringing us down and not really supportive? Yes. And that could be friends, spouses. It could be coworkers. You want to work to move to get yourself in a community of like-minded people. Now, I always get the question, John, some of them are family, some are even spouses. So what do I do?
True.
Look, this is your movie, Michelle, right? I always tell them, look, this is about you, not about your spouse. This is your movie. You are the star, writer, producer, and director of your show, just as they are in theirs. What is it that you want? And what happens sometimes, people will outgrow. I never tell anyone to leave, but I'm like, stay committed to your dream. Yes. And so people will either change and support you and move with you, or the train is leaving, Michelle. The train is leaving the station, right? And some people will start to fall away. Doesn't mean you love them any less. It just means that that's where they're at right now on their journey, because that's the level of awareness that they have. And I believe the best example is to just lead by doing, right? Not talking, but just do. And so find the 5 people that have what you want, that you know are going to support you, and are going to be on that same mindset of unlimited, undeniable, unstoppable, and whatever it is that you tell them that you want. That's why you want to be very careful who you tell your goal to.
Not everyone would be giving it the love internally that is to raise the vibration of it and bring it into the realm of reality. Yes. I want to take a moment to say a special hello to Vonette Bigford. She is queen of jazz here in Trinidad and Tobago. And she says, hey, love, oh gosh, what's all this? In Trinidad, of course.
Yeah.
So I just want to share with Vonette that we have with us Jon Talarico. He's known as the Connector. He's the top 1% of coaches with Bob Proctor. He is a wealth and mindset coach, and he helps persons to discover the million that they have in them. So the $1 million you're ready for?
There you go. Thank you, John. Vonette, how you going? How you going? You're missing a lot. Make sure you get the replay.
Trini Vonette.
Make sure you catch the replay.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Michelle, I think you couldn't have a better name for your show, what you're doing about lifting your vibe, because it all goes back to everything has a vibration. And we have in ourselves, we have this creative mechanism. I love the book by Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's really the go-to authority.
I took your advice. I started listening to the audio version of it, and it's
phenomenal.
I don't think words can describe how good it is.
Yes, it's very powerful. You're having some challenges and struggles with your self-image and self-confidence. Get that book, Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz. He talks about how everything has a vibration. We have like a missile, a cybernetic mechanism that has a vibration, and we can program ourselves for success or for failure, Michelle. And in the book, he gives you several steps to program yourself for success. So it's up to us, right? It's up to you what you want to choose. Well, first thing in program yourself for success is to set a destination. Again, back to having a goal. Make sure you're setting big type goals. Make sure you're setting goals that you've never done before. Make sure you're setting a goal of something that you truly, really want, not what you think you can get. And so.
I like that. Not something that you think you could get, but something that you truly want.
Yes.
And earlier on, you did mention that when it comes to goals, only 3% of the world's population have goals, and only 1% actually writes it down. So it's not difficult to see a connection there to why, when you think of the world's wealth, 1% are really holding 99% of the world's wealth. So that's the important thing, writing it down. And as you shared,
Absolutely.
every morning when you wake up, you start writing your gratitude, what you're
Absolutely,
thankful
Michelle.
for. And that, for me, is the shift.
Yes, it's really doing things differently. It's understanding who we are, what we're here to do, and understanding how the laws of the universe work. Right?
Yes.
Those two guys in Dayton, Ohio, were not mechanical engineers; they were bicycle mechanics. And now we can fly through a steel tube. Basically, I can be down there in 8 hours, Michelle, and hang out and go line with you over there in Trinity, right? And so. Sir Edmund Hillary said it best, right? He said, it's not the mountain we must conquer, but it's ourselves. And when you start to study you, when you start to understand how powerful you truly are, you can start to realize that you can have whatever you want out of life, right? The purpose why we're here is to have more happiness, more love, more joy, right?
More
It's not
happiness,
the
more
money most
love,
people
more
want,
joy.
it's freedom. Yeah.
Freedom!
Love, happiness.
My
Yes.
favorite line in a movie ever, Mel Gibson, freedom!
Yeah, absolutely. One of mine as well, Michelle. I love that movie.
So with that, in terms of more love, more light, more mindfulness, more good stuff, right? In terms of getting that, we look at how you were sharing in terms of how you start your day, having that shift in terms of thoughts. And as we get into that vibe or that vibration, you also mentioned that sometimes you also have to take stock of who you have around you. It's
Yeah.
not just about, okay, because someone is your spouse or because someone is a family member, it means that you have to take whatever is being dished out, especially if it's negative. You want to ensure that you eradicate that from yourself. And it does not mean that you have to return their negativity with negativity. It's just understanding that you're moving away from a certain situation and putting yourself consistently in that high vibrational energy of joy, but also watching who you're surrounding yourself with. And I want to touch as well on some of the names that you called: Dr. Joe Dispenza, also Wayne Dyer, Neville Goddard. Love Neville Goddard. And it takes me to Florence Scovel Shinn. There's a quotation that she has that I really love. And it is, your words are your wand. Could you speak to us more on that? Because it's like, apart from the thoughts, also in terms of what you're speaking into your life, the importance of using present tense as well. I am not seeing anything going on your side, John. So I'm thinking that our internet connection may have. I'm seeing you now.
Yeah, my apologies. I don't know what happened there. I was going to blame it on Flo, Michelle. So I don't want to get in trouble. I think that was me.
You know Trinidad well.
Yeah, I missed a little of what you were saying. So I'm not even sure where you left off, Michelle, but I think you were talking about who you surround yourself with. It's so important.
Yes.
So
And
important.
the words as well, not just the who, but the what in terms of words, not just in the environment, but the quality of words that you speak. And I touched on some of the wonderful authors and persons who always deliver such high vibrational energy, such as Dr. Joe Dispenza, Wayne Dyer, Neville Goddard. And I wanted to add to that list Florence Scovel Shinn, one of my personal favorites. And she says, your words are your wand. So I wanted you to share deeper with us on the quality of words that we speak.
Absolutely, Michelle. It is so important how we speak to ourselves, right? Words have energy to them. And it is so important that you guard how you speak to yourself and how you speak to other people. Now, again, that goes all the way back. Look, everything goes back to the same thing. You have to have a goal. You have to have a purpose in your mission. You have to have it clearly defined. And when you do that, you don't find yourself engaging in gossip and all that stuff down there, macking everyone's business, right? As they say down there, Michelle. Bacchanal. Because you're on purpose and you recognize that we don't know how much time we have, and that you have a mission, that you have a gift, Michelle, that needs to be shared with the world. This lifting your vibration, if one person alone just hears your show today and gets something from you that causes them to actually believe in themselves and change the direction of their life, then you're doing what you're meant to do. So it's so important that you watch how you speak to yourself. That's why we have all our clients write out that unlimited life script. That is you in the present tense, talking about how you see your life in the future. But today, powerful, strong, successful, however you want. And then start to really get emotionally involved in the person you wish to become. We have all of our clients also, we create a self-image vision board. take characteristics of the people that you look up to, like you said, Michelle. And then I put mine, I don't know if you can see it, but I put it on a vision board. So you have a self-image vision board. And then focus your words on your goal. Focus your words on, I am so happy and grateful now that I am. And get 100% involved and engaged in what you really want out of your life. Create the story of your life. I learned this exercise from a couple of people now. I've been hearing it a lot, Michelle, lately. Write your eulogy. You want to change your life? Write out your eulogy this weekend. How it is. Live from the end. Write out your eulogy. And then get moving. Get moving, because it's time to wake up, right? You talked about belief. It all comes back to belief. Deciding what you want, and let's go get it. Now, I talked earlier, Michelle, about paradigms. That is really the key of what holds us in the place we are and causes us to continue to get the same results time and time again. The only way to shift those paradigms is through repetition, watching stuff like Michelle's show every week or whenever that's on, reading the same material over and over again, studying the same video, watching the same lesson. People will say it doesn't make any sense to me all the time. Jon, you teach your clients to watch one video twice a day for 2 weeks at a time? Absolutely. It makes a whole lot of sense when you understand the laws of the universe. The only way to override a paradigm that I know of, I don't know anyone else who's done it, because what happens is when Michelle or anyone else of your listeners says, I'm going to go after this thing will start to scream and kick. And it'll start to tell you, what are you doing? You're crazy. Why would you not just play it safe? You have a good job. I always love the ones where people who have a job and they hate it. Why would you ever want to spend one more second of your day around people who don't inspire you in a place that doesn't motivate you? That's where that faith comes in.
Clappers for that one.
Yes. And so it's through the only way I know to override these paradigms is through repetition, or usually an emotional impact. 9/11, COVID was an emotional impact. That's something usually very negative. Elite level coaching, mentorship, stuff like you do, Michelle, and repetition will allow you to get to where you want to be. And you have to have that accountability as well.
Thank you so very much, Jon. It's been a pleasure connecting with you today. I got to connect with the connector, the ultimate connector.
Michelle, for you, anything for anyone in Trinidad and Tobago. I love the country.
I appreciate it.
Very, very dear to my heart. And so have an amazing weekend, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. And
it's
thank you.
It's truly been a blessing. Thank you for keeping us in that high vibrational energy. And
yes, I love it.
Love how you are able to lift our vibe every time with us. Thank you, Jon.
Thank you, Michelle. Take care. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you.